This is the second video about the campaign for safer cycling and walking to and from northwest Cambridge. And in this video, we will focus on the most pressing safety concerns, which are at the Huntingdon Road, Eddington Avenue Junction, which is here on this little map. Let's just show you the context. Here's northwest Cambridge, Eddington, and here are the desire lines for people going to and from South Girton Village, and the junction we're talking about is here, Eddington Avenue and Huntingdon Road. Here is the plan of what will be complete by the end of November 2015. You'll notice there's a large traffic light junction created here with 3-lane wide roads in all directions and a traffic light protected pedestrian crossing across Eddington Avenue, but no crossings across Huntingdon Road. The points we want to make are, first, that this design was based on incorrect assumptions. When the safety audit was done for this piece of work, the principal demand for the new school, this circle here, was assumed to be internal to the northwest Cambridge site, and crossing demand to the north was not anticipated to be significant. But in fact, the school is already open. The university decided to open the school early, and of the 111 pupils attending the school, at least 40 live in Girton. And if you scale those numbers up as the school continues to grow, it's very likely in 2 years' time, when there still won't be any homes on the northwest Cambridge site, that the number of pupils coming from Girton will be about 105, all of them having to cross Huntingdon Road to get to and from school every day. That adds up to a total of over 250,000 crossings of Huntingdon Road by individual pupils. Moreover, as Eddington develops, there will be a new nursery which will surely attract customers from Girton, and there are new retail and recreation facilities, a new shop which will be attractive to people in Girton, and that's the intention of the development, that it should be useful to neighbouring communities. That's all part of the strategy. The second point we need to make is that this design that we've just looked at does not make satisfactory provision for pedestrians and cyclists coming from and going to the north in the direction of Girton Village. When we say that, obviously we need to define what we mean by satisfactory. Here's our definition. First, it should be a route that's safe for all users, not just experienced cyclists, bearing in mind that the school already has people coming to and from it who may be 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds on a bicycle accompanied by a parent. And it has pedestrians, which may be a small family group, including a possibly wild 4-year-old who's tired at the beginning or end of a day, and a pushchair and a parent. To be satisfactory, a cycling route should not require a cyclist to dismount from their pedal cycle and push it along pavements or across roads. To be satisfactory, cyclists should not be required to break the highway code in order to follow a route. And we'd like to remind people that in the Northwest Cambridge Area Action Plan, there was an aspiration to high quality, indeed a commitment to high quality cycling and walking routes that are attractive, direct and safe, especially direct in the case of walking. And it should be emphasised that a cycling route needs to be good in both directions. Having a satisfactory cycling route in one direction doesn't mean you can go in the other. Okay, so now let's look at this junction in detail. First, there are some physical features that need to be pointed out. The pavement and the cycle lane both have pinch points. So the cycle lane, first, the on-road cycle lane outbound from the centre of town. This is the view looking outbound to the northwest. It has a constriction where the road narrows down from its widened 3.5 lanes wide, newly created width, back to the width it used to have, which was just 2.5 lanes wide. And so there's an appalling pinch point for the on-road cycle path, which will be created here. You can see what it looks like when a bus is going by at the moment. Here's the view from the north of the same pinch point. The road widens back out to be 3 lanes wide just after the tip of this arrow here, because it widens to 3 lanes to provide a right turning into Thornton Road and a right turning into the petrol station and so forth. So there's clearly going to be problems with the car driver's desire line as they go past this kink in the road. This pinch point issue was flagged up by officers at the City Council in 2011, but nothing appears to have been done. The second issue is that the pavement itself is not a satisfactory pavement. It has pinch points, it's narrow along a lot of its length. This is the view from the south of one of the narrowings in the pavement, and another view here. It's also from the northwest. This is the view looking back, and you can see, in order to pass each other, people are naturally tending to step into the road. Here's a family of three on bikes coming along, trying to negotiate this. It's too narrow a pavement, and it does get encroached onto once a week by wheelie bins as well. Now let's look in detail at what this junction design expects people to do who want to follow the magenta desire lines shown here. In inbound route in magenta, you might want to go along here to go from, say, a home on Thornton Way down Thornton Road to the school, and then another magenta line shows your desire line for returning home, either as a pedestrian or a cyclist, to go back down Thornton Road to your home in Thornton Way. What are you expected to do? Well, let's look through 4 particular journeys: a pedestrian coming and going, or a group of pedestrians, including a 4-year-old, coming and going, and a group of cyclists coming and going from Thornton Way. And let's just check, is there a safe, attractive, direct route for each of these 4 journeys? Start with the pedestrians. What can they do? Well, if they walk along this footpath, they then reach the traffic light. There's no way to cross here. They're expected to go all the way down this hairpin, cross at the new Toucan crossing, which we created near to White House Lane in these plans, and then return, having gone an extra 200 metres or so alongside a busy road. That's not attractive, it's not direct, it's not a satisfactory pedestrian route. Children seeing each other across this hairpin who don't have good road sense may well run across the road to meet their friends full of joy in the morning. We've seen that sort of thing happen already. The other pedestrian route could be to walk along the other side of Thornton Road, cross at this unprotected pedestrian crossing, which is just a little broken fence in the middle of the road, and walk along this way. That's a route that does not have traffic light protection on a major road, which is very, very busy and has had a cluster of accidents and indeed some fatalities. That's not a satisfactory route for the group we are talking about either, because of the lack of traffic light protection for the crossing. Okay, so that's 2 routes, neither of which works for pedestrians. So there's not a satisfactory pedestrian route. As for cyclists, let's now go through the case of the inbound cyclist. For cyclists, directness is not quite so important, perhaps, so you could expect them to go on the on-road cycle path down here, which is a good quality cycle path, or will be, and then they could use the new Toucan crossing and come back this way. It's not direct, but it is safe, and I would be willing to give it 1 tick, but with a bit of a concern about the risk of children being tempted to cut the corner here. So it does introduce some risk for irresponsible young users of pavements and cycles. Right, so there's 1 possible inbound route there. What about going home? Well, if you were to reverse that route going home, remember we're talking about a 4-year-old on a bike accompanied by an adult, it might be legal to go on this shared use cycle path as far as here and across the crossing, but then it would be illegal and contrary to the highway code to reverse your route going along the pavement here, and there would be no safe way to get from the pavement back onto the road as a proper road user. So that is not a legal route. What about the other side? Well, you could take the on-road cycle path, which is going to be an accident black spot thanks to the pinch point, and you could continue to this crossing, make your way across the crossing, or just make a right turn across the 3-lane wide and busy road into Thornton Road. I'm perfectly happy to do that as an experienced cyclist, but I don't want to be asking 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds and other cautious, inexperienced cyclists to be making that manoeuvre without more protection. So that return route is not a satisfactory route. So here's the outcome of thinking through the pedestrian case. There isn't a satisfactory route in or out. And for the cyclist, there may be a good inbound route from Thornton Way to Eddington, but there is not a satisfactory route from Eddington to Thornton Way. We'll discuss the Girton Road route in video number 3 in this series. Okay. Let me now skip forward to this summary of the policies that the councils drew up for the North West Cambridge area development. For cycling and walking, it was explicit that there should be new and improved cycle links and attractive, direct and safe walking routes, including links to nearby villages. So what's happening here is completely in contradiction of the policies, even though the strategy of the North West Cambridge development and the transport and community strategies both affirmed that they were complying with these policies. So now let's move to our proposal for what should be done to fix these problems. Well, looking at the magenta desire lines, all you need to do is put crossings that are traffic light protected that are aligned with the desire lines. So here's the November plan that we want to change, and here are the fixes to it. You could add an integrated toucan crossing into the traffic light junction here. That wouldn't increase the number of traffic lights on the road at all. It would just be introducing a pedestrian and cycle phase for crossing directly there. And add a new toucan crossing at Thornton Road here, as close as possible to Thornton Road to protect pedestrians and cycles going this way. Finally, the on-road cycle path pinpoint and the narrowness of the pavement need to be fixed by widening this footpath into a shared footpath and off-road cycle path and allowing the on-road cycle path to be straighter and safer. There is a single landowner who owns most of the relevant land here, and they are willing to sell. That's our proposal. If there is some sort of capacity problem, as has been alleged, that you couldn't possibly have a pedestrian phase here because it would disrupt efficient flow through the junction, well, there are some other versions of where to put this crossing. You could move it to the other side, as here, as here, or you could move that crossing all the way along to the other side of Thornton Road as here and have a crossing here, and that would also enable safe routes in both directions, as long as the cycle path is widened here as we've recommended. Now let me go back to our proposal. Another little detail we could mention is there's going to be, in the long term, a new toucan crossing here at White House Lane, and that will provide a route to Histon Road and to the new Darwin Green development over here. But at the moment, Darwin Green doesn't exist, and the cycle path to Histon doesn't, sadly, exist as more than a muddy track. So there will be little demand for this crossing, and we would suggest that in the early years it should be mothballed or delayed. And that would then reduce the number of lights on this road. It's redundant at the moment because it's so close to this other pedestrian crossing that already has been created, a toucan crossing at Lawrence Weaver Road. Going back to the Thornton Road recommendation, we are recommending that the toucan crossing should be extremely close to Thornton Road, and we'd like to emphasise that there is a precedent for that. Here is a toucan crossing right adjacent to a road. It's on Trumpington Road at the Newton Road junction, straight outside St Faith's School. So you can have toucan crossings very close to minor roads. So here's our proposal. As I said, there are variants which would also be satisfactory. Anyone suggesting any other variant should check that all the journeys we care about are safely protected. One alternative that has been suggested by the PR people from the North West Cambridge development is, oh, just wait a little bit, there's going to be a new route through Bunkers Hill to Girton Road here, so instead of going this way, you could go this way. Well, that would be a significantly longer route for someone going and coming from Thornton Way. Moreover, as we'll show in the third video, this is actually not a satisfactory route for inbound travel by pedestrians or cyclists, nor is it a satisfactory outbound route for pedestrians because the footpath is on this side of the road and there isn't a safe way to get there. So that's what we'll show in the third video. Thank you very much for watching. Please sign our petition. My name's David Mackay.